Free Falling by Grinch1234. Part 2. Come morning, Dazai is already over this whole being injured thing. He woke up at 6, texted Chuuya to come help him out of bed, then remembered that since they don't have any planned missions today, Chuuya is going to sleep in. And by sleep in, he means he will be lucky if the chibi is awake by noon. Dazai makes the wise decision to invest in a jigsaw game on his phone. He does 3 puzzles in under an hour, gets bored, deletes the app, and goes back to spamming Chuuya's phone in hopes that the notifications will wake his partner. Then he remembers that his other redhead should be awake. Quickly navigating to his contacts, Dazai calls Oda. It rings twice, then Oda picks up midway through the 3rd ring.
Hi Dazai, how are you? It's Dazai? I thought he died! Wait, let me say hi. Do you think he can hear us if we talk loud? Hi Dazai, glad he didn't die!
Dazai pulls the phone away from his ear, grimacing. He may have forgotten about the gremlins. His phone buzzes, alerting him that Oda has requested to swap their call to a video chat. He sighs. Fine, but only because he is bored, not because he wants to see Oda's kids. That would be silly. Hitting accept, the screen flashes. Then 6 faces are squished into his phone. Oda is in the background, holding the phone out so his orphans can sit in his lap or nearby to see the screen. Hi, Dazai says. He risks a glance at the closed door of Chuuya's room. As much as he does want his partner awake, actually waking Chuuya when he is sleeping means he gets a grumpy partner all day, and that never goes over well. Chuuya is sleeping in the other room, so we have to be quiet, okay?
Okay. She said quiet, dummy. Hey, who you calling dummy?
Oda meets Dazai's gaze through the phone and offers a small smile.
Kosuke, Katsumi, don't call each other dummy. That's not very nice.
Save the insults for Chuuya. Dazai adds on. He regrets the words immediately. The kids perk up, eyes lighting up, and feathers fluffing like he just told them Christmas was coming early.
We get to meet Chuuya?
Shinji gasps. The little boy claps his hands together while his dapple gray wings give an excited twitch, smacking Oda in the face.
When? Can we come over now? Yeah.
Kosuke jumps in.
We can bring the get-well presents we made you, Dazai. Dazai!
Sakura cheers, the baby girl's fingers grabbing at the screen as if doing so will allow her to grab at his face. Why she likes doing that, Dazai has no idea. It's annoying and always messes up his bandages.
Now.
Oda murmurs in that soft voice he uses to get the kids to drop their own volume level down to match his.
Dazai got a very big ouchie yesterday, so we need to give him a little time before we can visit.
No visit is fine too. Dazai mumbles, softly enough that the phone has next to no chance of picking it up.
We'll make plans to go see Dazai and his friend Chuuya sometime next week, okay?
The words may be directed at the cheering, suddenly gleeful children, but Oda looks to Dazai for confirmation. Sighing, Dazai dips his head in a small bob. The chibi might be horrible with kids, and the little gremlins are practically the same size as Chuuya, so that might be quite funny to see. After the kids have sufficiently babbled about their recent adventures at daycare, and Oda declares it lunchtime, Dazai lies flat on his back, staring up the roof. He can feel his lips tilting up at the corners. Then, hearing sluggish grunts from the outside, he forces the small smile aside to his usual monotone blank look just in time for Chuuya to shove the door open, blink drowsily at him, and shuffle through the room to the adjoining bathroom. Dazai pouts at his partner's back as the bathroom door is clicked shut between them. Not even a good morning. Ouch. Guess Chuuya must have had a bad sleep. 10 seconds later, Dazai hears a rather dangerous sounding crash. Chuuya? He calls out. You alive?
Yup,
Chuuya replies, his voice croaky with sleep.
just shattered the mirror again. Don't mind me.
There's another crash and Chuuya cusses loudly. With significant difficulty, Dazai maneuvers himself to sitting upright. Chibi, do you need help?
Nope, I'm totally fine. Just, a bit stuck. Don't you dare get out of bed.
Dazai freezes, his uncasted foot centimeters away from the carpeted floor.
God damn it.
Another horribly loud crash. A pause. Chuuya cracks the door open and sticks his head out. His hair is ruffled. There are a couple red and black feathers stuck in the knotted ginger sections, and a small frown is pulling at his lips. How important is the shower curtain? Dazai raises an eyebrow. You ripped the curtain? No. Chuuya averts his gaze. I broke the railing bit that holds the curtain. And the mirror, and added a couple holes to the wall, but those can be covered with some framed art, so it's fine. Dazai raises his eyebrow higher. Wait, are you saying that all the paintings you have in here are to cover holes in the wall? Chuuya slams the bathroom door shut, but is not quite fast enough for Dazai to miss the way his partner's cheeks tint pink. He cackles. Ah, how delightful. If he was capable of standing on his own, Dazai would totally head over to the nearby black frame and push aside the pot of white roses contained within to see what sort of damage Chuuya has been dealing to his walls all these years. When Chuuya does come out, Dazai sends him a teasing grin. Break anything else, Chibi? Chuuya rolls his eyes. Yeah, laugh it up. Won't happen again. I was tired and a bit stupid and my back itched, okay? Dazai pauses, then decides to ask anyway. If Chuuya gets mad at him, worst that can happen right now is the slug will refuse to carry Dazai to the TV. You mean your wings smacked stuff? His partner's cheeks darken again, but Chuuya doesn't look away this time. Yeah, so what? In case you didn't notice, my room is significantly larger than the bathroom. I was not expecting such a small space and got a little startled. Oh. Seeing the way Chuuya is fidgeting with the wrist of his gloves, Dazai lets it drop. I was talking to Oda this morning. Apparently, he and the children want to come by sometime next week. They all want to meet you and mock me for being injured. They won't mock you, Chuuya rebuts immediately. He steps closer and scoops Dazai up, starting for the bathroom and then reversing and bringing Dazai to the couch. You can brush your teeth after I clean up all the broken bits in there. But yeah, sure, it would be fun to have your friends over. They are not my friends, Dazai protests. Oda's brats are annoyances at best. Sure, Dazai. I record some kid-friendly shows in case they want to watch TV, and maybe you could pick up some of those dinosaur-shaped chicken nuggets. I think kids like those. I'll text Oda and we'll make a plan. Fine, like I care. Dazai sniffs. He'll have to text Oda later to make sure his friend doesn't let Chuuya plan anything too stupid. Once Chuuya sets him down on the couch, Dazai notes the abundance of red and black feathers littering the space near his feet. He opens his mouth to ask Chuuya if he really slept with his wings draping off the couch, which must have been incredibly uncomfortable, only to catch himself when he sees the way Chuuya tenses up at the sight of the feathers. Sorry, let me get a broom. Dazai swallows the question. He stays silent as Chuuya sweeps away the feathers and glances at his partner's back as he shuffles off to dispose of them, wondering how on earth Chuuya slept the whole night with his wings being pulled by gravity like that and is still being able to move. From what he recalls, pulling a wing muscle felt positively awful, and the easiest way to go about pulling muscles in one's back is to sleep with unsupported wings. He'll figure out a way to trick Chuuya into letting him sleep on the couch tonight. Dazai might be a poor partner and a horrible roommate, but he is unwilling to let Chuuya hurt himself like that for him. Chuuya does not seem to agree. Let go of the couch cushions, Dazai! You're pulling at my legs, stop it! Fucking, I'm getting you to bed whether you want it or not! Dazai screeches as Chuuya gives a particularly hard tug at his unbroken leg and he loses his grip to the couch, allowing Chuuya to pick him up. Now resting rather comfortably in Chuuya's arms, Dazai pouts and glares at his partner. Stupid chibi, I want to sleep on the couch! Chuuya rolls his eyes. We discussed this yesterday, remember? You don't fit on the couch with broken limbs. You're sleeping in the bed and that's that. But it's your bed, Dazai protests. You should be the one sleeping in it. Me and the couch get along great. Leave us be. Well, you should have thought of that before getting bazookaed off a building. That's Mori's fault, Dazai grumbles. Wouldn't it be the fault of the guy with the bazooka? No, Dazai shakes his head. Bad things are always Mori's fault. Sure. Chuuya ignores the rest of Dazai's protests and gets him tucked into bed just as comfortably as the night before. Night, Dazai. I'll get up earlier tomorrow and we'll play video games before lunch, okay? I suppose if I must, then it is acceptable. Good night. Chuuya repeats. The door clicks shut. Dazai stares at the closed door for a solid 10 minutes before daring to whisper. Good night, Chuuya. He will simply have to try harder to get back to sleeping on the couch tomorrow. Next time he breaks bones, Dazai is going to politely ask whoever is doing the breaking to not go for his legs. It is incredibly inconvenient to be stuck in one place and have to ask Chuuya to carry him around. Not that his partner seems to mind at all, but still. Dazai likes being able to wander around on his own whims. Technically, he could force Chuuya to get him a wheelchair of some kind, but that would hardly fit in Chuuya's apartment, and sounds like a hassle that Dazai does not want to bother with. He sighs loudly and tosses his phone aside. It hits the floor with a clunk, but doesn't sound like it landed hard enough to break. Too bad, really. He is very done reading over the Port Mafia paperwork. Hopefully that noise was not you falling off the couch. Chuuya calls from the kitchen. The chibi has been cooking stuff all morning and refused to tell Dazai why. No, just my phone, and coincidentally Mori's paperwork. Good. You ready for this afternoon? Dazai pauses. He can't remember anything they were supposed to do today. Plus, Dazai still has many weeks left until he is scheduled to meet with Mori and check to see how much longer he has to wait until being able to take on missions. Seriously, Dazai? Chuuya must have taken the silence as an answer. Oda and his kids are coming over in, 20 minutes. Dazai blinks. That's today? And you didn't warn me? He hears a deep sigh from the kitchen before Chuuya marches over and scowls at him. 20 minutes, the redhead repeats. What do you need to do to get ready? Dazai, who hasn't bathed in the last 3 days and has been wearing the same clothes for about that long, shrugs. Should probably brush my teeth? I'm texting Oda to show up late. Chuuya, after sending the message against Dazai's protests, rudely tells Dazai that he reeks by forcing him into the bathtub. Bathing with casts is difficult, but not impossible, especially when one has an annoying gravity-manipulating partner nearby who prevents stray water droplets from hitting his not-allowed-to-get-wet casts. A solid 40 minutes later, Dazai is freshly washed and in new clothes, a small scowl on his face as he shifts around on the couch, trying to get comfortable. He knows that very soon he is going to be laden with 5 infants all trying to climb on his lap, but alas, his poor broken bones are just going to be further irritated. Nothing he can do about it. There is a knock on the door. Dazai sighs, slouching. Relax, Chuuya mutters, gently mussing Dazai's hair as he passes the couch to reach the door. Dazai huffs and half-heartedly presses his hair back to something less messy. Hey Oda, kids. Chuuya greets their guests warmly as he opens the door and steps aside so they can come in. Shoes go right by the door. Once Oda has wrangled each kid out of their shoes, the gremlins are loose. The 4 boys quickly set off, exploring the small apartment with vigor, while Oda carries Sakura in his arms and introduces her to Chuuya. Once the boys have sufficiently sprinted from the main area where Dazai's couch is, to the kitchen, to Chuuya's bedroom, to the bathroom, then back to the couch, they crowd Dazai and gape at him more than normal. Whoa, Dazai, your leg looks all big and weird! Kosuke, the oldest, exclaims, poking at his cast a little too roughly. It's a cast, Dazai explains. The bones in my leg broke, so the cast helps them stay in one place so they can heal correctly. It still looks funny. You, the middle child, points out. The other boys nod along. You know, Chuuya pipes in. Dazai shoots his partner a dark look, not liking the glee in his voice. When someone gets a cast, it's common to draw pictures on it to help them feel better.
Really? We gotta do that!
Katsumi, the second eldest, turns pleading eyes to Dazai. His wings, white with spots of dark blue, snap into existence and flutter excitedly.
Please, Dazai, I'll draw you the coolest picture ever, and you'll be all better in no time.
The other kids, upon realizing that Katsumi has his wings out, all decide that they want their wings visible too. Dazai grimaces. Chuuya will have to sweep thoroughly later. Oda chuckles. Don't forget your manners, everyone. Did you ask Chuuya if it was okay to have your wings out in the house? The kids turn to Chuuya, who immediately freezes up at the sudden apologies and multiple versions of, "Please, Mr. Chuuya, is it okay?" Yeah, you're good. No worries. Chuuya's smile looks a bit strained, but given their present company, Dazai does not point it out. Let me go get the markers so you guys can decorate Dazai's cast. Dazai sends a withering glare at his partner's retreating form, but is quickly sidetracked by Oda coming closer so Sakura, who has been wiggling in his grasp, can get transferred to Dazai's lap.
Dazai!
The 4-year-old girl cheers, her grubby hands grabbing hold of his cheeks and squishing them together. She giggles and lets go of his face, only to squish closer and smack a wet kiss to his unbandaged cheek. Dazai wrinkles his nose.
Dazai,
the girl repeats.
Fix my wings?
At the request, she flaps her tiny, light pink wings, drawing his attention to all the crooked feathers within. They do look messy, Dazai replies. She won't let me preen them this week, Oda says. Said she wanted you to do it. I am the best at it. Dazai manages to say around an odd lump in his throat. Sakura wiggles around until her back is facing him, her wings fluffy and waiting for him to get to work.
Me next!
Katsumi declares, which spouts a whole argument over what order the gremlins are going in, but means that he is undoubtedly going to have to preen all of the wings. Well, I suppose if I must. Just as he starts preening the girl's wings, Chuuya comes back with the markers he went looking for. Chuuya's footsteps startle a bit, but Dazai does not have time to comment before his partner is handing washable markers. They are on the couch. Chuuya would probably cry if his couch got permanently stained. Over to the eager and thoroughly distracted boys. Oda wanders off and returns a moment later with a chair from the kitchen. Setting it near the end of the couch Dazai's head is occupying. How are you feeling, Dazai? Oda asks. Fine. Dazai replies automatically. He avoids Oda's gaze by focusing on the tiny feathers he is straightening out. A bit annoyed I can't do much right now, but that's it. I've been making him eat vegetables. Chuuya comments with a sly grin. He too has brought a chair over and is glancing at Dazai's slowly being decorated cast every so often. Oh, I am glad to hear that. Oda makes a small, pleased noise. I've been trying to get him to eat better for a long time. I eat fine, Dazai mutters. Considering both his red-headed friends glance at him with disbelief, Dazai ignores their purposeful looks. He is preening wings, very busy, so no time for disapproval of his dietary habits. A couple minutes pass during which Chuuya and Oda talk, complain about some of Dazai's other bad habits. He ignores them. So what if it's common knowledge that Dazai can't cook or clean or tie his own shoes that well? He does not sulk.
Dazai!
Yu tugs on Dazai's pant leg, demanding attention.
Look, I drew you a super cool snake.
The 7-year-old points to a weird orange and green blob shape. Hideous, Dazai remarks. Yu beams.
Thanks, I was trying to make them extra spooky, cause you always try to look scary all the time. Check out mine.
Katsumi grins toothily and points to the brown and white blob now on Dazai's shin.
Can you tell what it is?
No, not really.
I was going to draw a dog, but you're scared of dogs. I'm not!
Dazai hisses, glancing fearfully over his shoulder. Thankfully, it does not seem like Chuuya, who is currently talking to Oda about something culinary related, heard.
So instead, I drew a cat.
Well, Dazai mutters, cats are better than dogs, less likely to eat you. Katsumi giggles like Dazai made a joke. Dazai nudges Sakura's shoulder and tosses the handful of broken pink feathers he pulled from her wings onto the floor. You're done. Who's next?
Me,
Yu declares, stealing the spot on Dazai's lap before either Shinji or Katsumi can. Kosuke is still drawing, lips stuck out of the corner of his mouth as he concentrates on whatever it is. Yu smacks Dazai's injured shoulder with a stray wing, making him smother a wince. Regardless, he does his best to preen the boy's wings, albeit slower than usual given he is down a hand. By the time Oda and the kids leave, Dazai is exhausted, has a cast decorated in far too many colors.
I drew you with Oda and Chuuya,
Kosuke had declared proudly once completing the picture. Created a small mound of feathers on the floor, and has lost half his couch space, thanks to the invasion of Get Better Soon and Happy Birthday cards the kids made him over the last week-ish. He reads through each one when Chuuya is cooking dinner. Apparently, neither the mid-afternoon dino nuggets or the tasty snack-sized desserts they had count as an appropriate meal, and loudly tells the chibi to throw the cards out later. However, rather than some aggressive reply nagging at Dazai to appreciate the cards the kids made for him, there is no answer.
Chibi,
he calls a little louder.
Did you fall in the dish with the other shrimp and cook yourself?
Still no reply. Now slightly concerned, Dazai wiggles around until he is sitting properly upright and peers over to the kitchen. Chuuya is in sight, the chibi's shoulder tense as he aggressively stirs something in a pan. Odd. Dazai thought Chuuya had a good time this afternoon. He was smiling for the most part, indulged in the gremlin's questions about his ability, and talked lots with Oda. Heck, he even drew a small, shaky fish on Dazai's cast. So, why is he upset? Chuuya? Dazai tries again. This time, his partner startles, knocking the pan slightly, and turns to face him. Yeah, what's up? You're acting weird, Dazai points out. There is probably a nicer way to approach the topic, but he doesn't bother. Chuuya rarely appreciates his attempts to sugarcoat things anyway. Chuuya shrugs. Sorry, I guess. Food will be ready in 20. Considering Chuuya turns back to the stove, giving the pan sitting there his full attention, Dazai does not pry further. Either Chuuya will sleep off whatever is bothering him, or his partner will bring it up himself. Prying at this point will get him yelled at, so staying quiet and watching some Jeopardy is a much better plan. Just as Chuuya is helping Dazai into bed that night, he still hasn't managed to convince Chuuya to let him sleep on the couch. It comes up. His partner lingers after helping Dazai pull the covers up to his chin. Then Chuuya sits on the edge of the bed. Dazai frowns and wonders if he should sit up so they can have a proper conversation. But doing so would ruin all their work in getting him to bed, so he stays put. After an awkward 20 silent seconds, Chuuya suddenly blurts, "Can I ask you a question?" Dazai shrugs as best as he can while reclined. You can always ask, doesn't mean I'll answer. Right. Chuuya shifts his gaze to his hands, playing with the edge of a glove. What were your wings, shaped like when you had them? Dazai is momentarily taken aback. Considering it has been a while since Chuuya found out Dazai, unlike most of the population, does not have wings, it hasn't been brought up. Yet, how do you know I had wings and wasn't just born without them? Then it hits him and he realizes what a stupid question that was. Never mind, you've seen my back, you know the stuff. Chuuya mumbles. Dazai pauses. What? Chuuya gestures vaguely with a hand. The stuff, you know, with the feathers and the kids and whatever. Preening? Dazai's lips quirk up slightly. I mean, anyone with Google could figure that out. But you did it different. The kids. It didn't seem like it hurt them when you took the broken feathers away. The way Chuuya is awkwardly hunched and avoiding his gaze makes Dazai's small smile drop away instantly. Chuuya, never mind, forget it. Chuuya stands abruptly. Just forget I said anything. Dazai rolls his eyes. Sit down, slug. You're shaking and fidgety. Just keep talking. You don't have to run, not from me, goes unsaid. But considering Chuuya does sit down after a second's hesitation, perhaps that sentiment got across well enough. Chuuya glances his way, then goes back to staring down at his hands. You didn't answer my question from before. Huh? Your wings, when you, had them, what did they look like? Dazai is not really sure how telling Chuuya will help his partner with whatever is bothering him, but it can't hurt to go along with. He knows Chuuya is not trying to manipulate Dazai into sharing personal information like some sleazy doctor would, so he doesn't mind. He closes his eyes and tries to picture his wings. It was a while ago, so he doesn't have a great image, but they were soft, he murmurs. A wistful note slips into his words. Chuuya is kind enough not to point it out. I had big, white feathers, made it easy to preen since they were so large. I have no idea what bird they were based off, but my feathers were soft. I preferred them over my actual blanket. Dazai pauses. His back twinges with phantom pain. His voice goes carefully flat. My father did not appreciate the color of my wings. Said a child like me shouldn't have angelic wings, that they were too pure for me. He had them removed when I was 9. Chuuya shudders, his shoulders rounding over, but doesn't offer Dazai any dull words of comfort. Good. Dazai does not want them. Instead, Chuuya moves the conversation along. And the feathers sting, preening. It didn't hurt? You never pulled at feathers and had to stop because your fingers were too wet with blood to continue? No, Dazai frowns. Chuuya, can I? He cuts himself off. It is generally a little rude to ask to see someone's wings. However, if Chuuya has been pulling healthy feathers and ripping up the delicate skin of his wings until they bleed profusely, then someone should check to make sure everything looks okay. Considering their medical assistance is Mori, Dazai would like to think that he would be the preferred choice if Chuuya is going to trust someone to look at his wings. However, when he started asking, Chuuya had perked up ever so slightly. Dazai swallows and changes his question. Can I try preening your wings sometime? Sometimes it's easier to have someone help. Chuuya finally looks up to meet his eyes. There is something there, something a little scared and vulnerable. Dazai thinks he understands why Chuuya asked about his wings. Now it's an exchange, not a potential way for Dazai to gain power over his partner by Chuuya deciding to trust him. Now? Chuuya offers. Sure, help me sit up first, Dazai says. Once Dazai's back is resting comfortably against Chuuya's headboard, Chuuya climbs into the bed with him. His partner strips his shirt off, tossing it aside, and sits with his back towards Dazai, careful not to touch Dazai's broken leg. There is a moment where Chuuya tenses up and Dazai thinks his partner is going to bail. Then Chuuya unfurls his wings. The first thing Dazai notices is the absolutely horrendous state they are in. Feathers, fading from black at the base to red at the tips, are nearly all crumpled and twisted in odd ways. It's no wonder Chuuya often mutters complaints about his back being itchy. The second thing Dazai notices, which really should have been the first, is the sheer abundance of feathers Chuuya has. For one, his feathers are relatively slim. However, the volume is mainly since, rather than the regular 2, Chuuya has 4 wings, one upper set over a lower set, and they are very large. With them curled up as they are, Dazai cannot give an accurate measurement, but he has no doubt Chuuya's wingspan is at least an impressive 15 feet. Chuuya shuffles uncomfortably, seeming to take Dazai's stunned silence as a bad thing. Realized pretty quickly mine aren't normal, so I never asked about wing stuff with the sheep. They would have wanted to help in a more hands-on way, and yeah. Chuuya ruffles all 4 of his wings, knocking loose broken feathers. Realizing Chuuya is waiting for him to say something, Dazai clears his throat. No wonder they itch. Chibi, your wings are a mess. Chuuya snorts. It sounds relieved. Yeah, I know. I can't really reach them that well. This might take a while. Dazai warns his partner. If you fall asleep on me and crush me to death, I'll be mildly annoyed. Getting crushed sounds like a horrible way to die. I'm not just gonna fall asleep. Oh! Chuuya sucks in a sharp breath and goes rigid as Dazai lightly drags his fingers over Chuuya's upper left wing. It's the easiest to reach given his left hand is the one not stuck in a stupid sling. Dazai repeats the action, digging his fingers in just enough to make the feathers glide around his digits. Chuuya makes a strangled sound and slumps back, practically melting into Dazai's chest. Hey! Dazai complains as Chuuya's weight flops onto him. Sit up! You promised not to crush me. I'm sitting up, Chuuya slurs. Dazai rolls his eyes. He should have known. From the sounds of it, no one, not even Chuuya himself, has touched his wings in any kind of nice way. Of course the chibi is going to react more than expected to what is essentially a very nice head scratch on steroids. I can't reach your wings like this. Dazai pokes at Chuuya's bare spine, trying to keep his partner from falling asleep already. He hasn't even started preening and, considering the volume he is working with here, there is a lot of work to be done. Shh, Chuuya mumbles sleepily. I'm awake. Right, at least turn over. I should be able to reach something that way. Okay. While Chuuya does pull his wings tight to his back and flip onto his stomach, now Dazai simply has his partner sprawled out on him. Not exactly the best position for fixing wings, but it's better than having Chuuya's feathers trapped between his back and Dazai's chest. It only takes 5 minutes of careful preening, of slowly guiding the slim feathers into the correct position and gently removing the broken ones, for Chuuya to start to snore. Given he is expecting it, Dazai isn't shocked. He keeps going until he cannot reach any new wing space from his position, then keeps running his fingers over Chuuya's wings until he too falls asleep. Come morning, Dazai's back hurts. Understandable given that he slept sitting up with an entire chibi squishing him, but still, rude. He is sore elsewhere. Why must his back betray him too? Unsurprisingly, given Chuuya is sleeping deeply enough that he is drooling on Dazai's lap, Chuuya is still asleep and no amount of poking or shoving is going to wake him. Dazai even tries lightly pulling at a feather, but that doesn't work either. He can't grab his phone from here, so Dazai huffs and settles in for a boring morning. About 15 seconds later, he gets bored. Eyeing Chuuya to ensure his partner is truly unconscious, Dazai reaches out and lets his fingertips drag over Chuuya's soft wings. He can't stop himself from allowing the tiniest smile to twist his lips up. He'd never admit it out loud, not even with a gun to his head, but preening was one of his favorite things about his own wings when he was little. One of his earliest memories is of his mother showing Dazai how to preen his wings, her manicured nails scraping gently through the feathers. She was gone 2 weeks later, but that small moment of care, of love, was enough. Preening his wings, making them look perfect and pretty, quickly became habit. Hence why he does not complain nearly as much as he should when Oda's gremlins want him to fix their wings. It's nice to spend a few minutes straightening feathers and receiving a smile and a pleased thank you in return. Dazai is pretty sure he read somewhere that preening is supposed to be a social activity for birds, a way of bonding. But they're humans, not birds, so clearly that is totally ridiculous. Chuuya shifts and mumbles in his sleep. The wing Dazai is petting fluffs up, welcoming his fingers. He freezes, hands stilling. A long minute passes, but Chuuya keeps snoring. Relaxing, Dazai returns to dragging his fingers through Chuuya's wing and lets his mind wander. He is sure they'll have to talk once his partner wakes up, but for now, basking in the morning hours and not being alone is nice. 8 minutes after noon, Chuuya starts to stir. Dazai quickly snatches his hand back, tucking it under his thigh as if it had been trapped there all along. A few sleepy grumbles later, Chuuya peeks up at him. His hair is a mess, the ginger strands matted and clumped together. His cheek holds creases from resting on Dazai's lap all night, and his eyes are a murky, sleepy blue. A small flush tints Chuuya's cheeks as he squints up at Dazai. "Samu?" he mumbles, effectively forcing a bit of color onto Dazai's cheeks as well. "Why are you in my bed?" Then he blinks, a bit of clarity returns to his eyes, and Chuuya's blush shifts from pink to a deep, flustered red. He leaps out of bed, landing awkwardly on the floor, and scrambles to his feet. Dazai blinks. The bathroom door slams shut but does not prevent him from hearing Chuuya starts cussing in French. Not that he knows what his partner is saying. Chuuya said it wouldn't be fair if Dazai learned the one bonus language he knows, so Dazai restrained himself from learning French and focused on other languages instead. But it is still amusing. In any case, with Chuuya's weight no longer squishing him, Dazai is able to reach his phone and answer a few texts from Oda and Ango. He is a little surprised Ango texted, and even more surprised to find,
"Heard it was your birthday. Sorry we missed it. Drinks on me next time."
a sentiment Dazai is happy to agree to. Once he is done replying to all of Oda's messages, most of them jumbled ones with bad spelling that are clearly from one child or another, asking if he liked the cards they made, Chuuya returns. The chibi looks much more awake and normal now, his hair brushed and his face scrubbed clean. However, his wings are still out. Chuuya shuffles in place, fidgeting. The spot on his upper wings that Dazai was able to reach and straighten out look much glossier and healthier than the other sections. Dazai sighs. He sets his phone aside and pats the bed in front of him. "You'd better not fall asleep again, slug. You drooled on me." "Fuck off!" Chuuya scowls, stomping over and sitting on the bed, his back to Dazai. "I did not." Deciding not to start what will surely twist into an argument, Dazai bites his tongue. He does not point out the proof that made a dark spot on his thigh overnight. Just like last time, the first stroke of Dazai's finger pads against Chuuya's feathers has his partners shuddering. Dazai pauses when Chuuya sways lightly, but the chibi remains upright. "I'm awake," Chuuya mutters once he realizes that Dazai had stopped. "Good," Dazai replies. "Stay that way, please. You got grumpy when you missed lunch." "I do not!" Chuuya flexes one of his wings, sending a few feathers to flick Dazai's cheek. He sputters, knocking the feathers aside, and then complains he was going to choke on them when he hears Chuuya's small, amused huff. "You aren't very good at debates," Dazai says instead. "You can't just say I'm right in various ways and win. That's not how it works." "Works just fine for me. Besides, words are your job, remember? You do all that stuff and I hit things." True. Dazai sighs loudly, just to be dramatic. How easy it must be to act as the mindless brawn. Means enemies don't think I can do much beyond punch things, so it works in my favor. Ow! Chuuya flinches, his wing twitching as Dazai grazes over a particularly nasty clump of matted feathers. "Why'd that hurt? The rest..." Chuuya waves toward the slowly growing pile of broken black and red feathers on the ground. "Didn't hurt." "Give me a moment and I'll find out." Dazai picks up his phone and turns the flashlight on, giving his eye some extra light to work with. The problem becomes immediately obvious. "Chuuya, didn't you break the mirror like a week ago?" "Yeah, why?" Dazai levels the back of his partner's head with a glare. "And you didn't think to check whether you got any glass in your wings?" "I mean, in my defense, they are usually sore all the time, so I did not notice anything different." "This is why I have the brain in our relationship." He removes his hand, breaking their contact and thus giving Chuuya his ability back. "Tweezers, please." Tweezers wrapped in glowing red float from the bathroom in seconds, hovering in the air for Dazai to grab. Humming contently, Dazai plucks them from the air and gets to work. Considering the glass shard had been embedded in the delicate skin of Chuuya's wing for the last week or so, it is infected. The feathers near the wound have tried to grow over it, hence why removing the broken ones and thus irritating the skin below is causing Chuuya pain. Well, Dazai has dealt with injuries far worse than this. With only a little fingering, He encourages the glass shard free and sets it aside on the bedside table to discard later. From there, coaxing the irritated feathers loose is easy. Chuuya's shoulders relax as Dazai sets the tweezers aside for now, the problem area having been dealt with. Then Dazai pauses. Chuuya, how likely is it that there is more glass stuck in here? Dazai is, after all, only on the first wing. There are 3 more to go and he does not fancy having to pluck glass from all of them. Guess we'll find out? Chuuya offers a weak chuckle. Dazai groans. This is going to take forever. Good thing they don't have any missions lined up, since Dazai is still supposed to be on bed rest, and that he does not care about getting Mori's paperwork back on time. By the time Dazai has finished with the last wing and is now just letting his fingers run through Chuuya's feathers, all straightened and gleaming, looking much healthier and stronger than before, his left hand has cramped and is aching. Chuuya hums contentedly and gives his wings a shake. No loose feathers tumble free, though the breeze does ruffle the broken feathers sitting on the floor and bed around them. Thanks, Dazai. I didn't think they could feel this good. Well, Dazai sniffs. Guess you shouldn't let your wings get into such horrible state again. Yeah, you're probably right. Dazai nods. He is often right. Might help if someone gave me a hand, though. Dazai feels Chuuya's gaze on him and quickly looks up from the feather he was tracing. His partner's eyes are hopeful, bright. It is quite obvious what reply Chuuya wants to hear. Dazai swallows and averts his gaze. I suppose I am the best at preening wings, and if Chibi is truly terrible at it, it only makes sense for me to take over such a task. Thanks, Dazai. Chuuya smiles at him. It's such an odd expression. Dazai is far more used to Chuuya's glares and scowls, that Dazai quickly grabs his phone as an excuse to look at something that is not his partner. Whatever, it's afternoon, so what's for supper? Supper? Chuuya scoffs. We aren't skipping lunch. But it's almost 3. We can't have lunch now and still be hungry for canned crab later. Watch and learn, Dazai. Chuuya smirks. I guarantee it is possible. Considering Chuuya makes some relatively tasty salad thing for lunch, then provides Dazai with his delightful and nutritious canned crab later, Dazai does fall prey to eating 2 meals that day. Eek, they're so cute! Wing preening, much like hairbrushing, might be my favorite concept in any fic. It's so soft and delicate and just the amount of character growth that comes from it too? Delicious, immaculate, spectacular, give me 14 of them right now. On a different note though, at the time of recording this, which is 5th of March, current world events have spiked significantly. And seeing as I live in the heart of it, which is in the Middle East, you can only imagine the amount of underlying panic we're all feeling. Airports have shut down, as well as schools and universities. I've been trying to distract myself with podficking, writing, and whatnot, and can only hope by the time this is uploaded, things would have de-escalated or, more hopefully, ended. On the contrary, escalation can only be deadly. So please speak up, support, and pray for our safety. Every thought and action counts. Thank you so much for listening, everyone. Kind of a letdown end note, but peace is all we can hope to achieve. Hope you have a great week. Till next time.